Good day everyone, this is my presentation on Spina Bifida. Today we'll be looking at the background of Spina Bifida, what exactly is the problem with the Spina Bifida. We'll then look at the schools and how it's affected in schools, the problems that are with that, and also finally we will touch on the solutions. Along the way we have a couple of studies that were conducted by doctors on students with Spina Bifida and the effects of the Spina Bifida on them and the students, teachers and parents in the school community. And finally we'll have a video of a teacher in the US who has adapted her room to fit the needs of a student with Spina Bifida. So in today's school environment, there are a diverse range of students of different gender, size, race and beliefs, and most importantly, different abilities. A student with a disability adds to the diversity of a classroom, yet can be a challenge for educators and peers in classroom environments. One condition, as I've mentioned, that schools are challenged to deal with is Spina Bifida. Spina Bifida is defined as a condition that is a split or divided spine caused through a neural tube defect that has recently affected 6 in every 10,000 births. It is a condition in which during gestation, certain bones in the spine have not completely formed or joined together to cover and protect the nerves of the bones in the spinal cord. This can result in total absence of control of muscles in the lower part of the body. The cord is often damaged and bodily functions below this point are seriously disrupted, including the use of lower limbs. The individual may need to use a wheelchair or leg braces and walking sticks. The illness of Spina Bifida does not only affect the child, but the family involved and the wider community, including the school, due to the lack of knowledge of the uncommon issue. Schools struggle to deal with students with Spina Bifida as they are unsure as to how to adapt to suit the child's needs. This leads to students with Spina Bifida becoming secluded in the classroom, as the focus remains on mainstream students. These mainstream students are not affected and don't need adapting to. It is important for teachers to learn about Spina Bifida to grow in their understanding of the illness. This would benefit both teachers and students, as the teachers would be more able to adapt their classes and class settings to accommodate the child. This will help the suffering child or children become successful learners. An adaptable classroom will allow the student to be accepted, boosting their morale and confidence to participate in mainstream schools and feel normal. Understanding what a child with Spina Bifida is dealing with will increase social interaction. Findings. One of the key findings that was prominent was the fact that teachers are aware of the gaps in their education relating to the strategies in order to effectively teach those with any disability. There used to be a stigma that children with physical disabilities were deemed to be associated with procrastination and laziness at schools. However, over time we have become more open and understanding to those with physical disabilities. Spina Bifida results in a total loss of control in the lower half of the body. The muscles in someone don't apply to any transmitted nerve signals, whilst also not receiving any signals from the brain. The spine is deemed to have not completely formed or joined together and leaves the spinal cord and nerves unprotected. Students with Spina Bifida can gain the most of their schooling experience through direct assistance from teachers and teaching aids. Furthermore, teachers vary their teaching of subjects for students, providing more resources to assist in their modified learning. It is necessary that school environments be transformed for children with either intellectual and/or physical disabilities. For students to learn, they must feel comfortable. Westwood, who is one of our sources, identified that students who suffer from the spina bifida have the greatest potential to learn when classes are systematic and take cautious steps through the progression of a course or subject. Another finding was that children with spina bifida can have a non-verbal learning disorder. One study has found that children with spina bifida can have a non-verbal learning disorder. In this study, all students were found to be severely learning disabled and were all high on the NLD parameter, NLD being non-language disability. 2 students were diagnosed with NLD, with 2 partial NLD, and 1 with mild intellectual impairment, an NLD profile of strengths and weaknesses which made the degree of impairment more difficult to ascertain. It was the NLD phenotype that appeared to confuse many teachers and aides. The good oral presentations and wide range in vocabulary, which in some cases led to unrealistic expectations. This means that the students themselves did not have intellectual disabilities. They were smart and could comprehend in what they were doing. However, they could not express themselves verbally, which from an outsider would deem that they cannot comprehend and understand what we are talking about or what someone else is talking about. This point rolls into our third point of schools struggling to deal with students with spina bifida as they are unsure as how to adapt to suit the child's needs. This will be so one of the problems that has arisen from spina bifida is that there are common misconceptions that physical disabilities are connected with intellectual disabilities. This misconception has stemmed from the prejudicial beliefs that one's intelligence and ability are correlated. That was from Foreman in 2011. It is, however, not uncommon for people suffering the spina bifida to suffer from intellectual impairment. This possible intellectual disability depends on the location of the affected nerves to and from the brain. The most commonly affected areas in the brain include attention span, memory, and speed of response, all issues that would be classed as an intellectual disability. All these factors may lead to limited opportunities if not managed appropriately. However, Foreman in 2011 contradicts Westwood's point of view that intellectual disabilities are correlated with physical disabilities. Foreman believed it is only the public's perception on intellectual disabilities where they have related speech and language to physical disabilities, yet they are not connected. This connects to the previous point that schools struggle to deal with students with spina bifida as they are unsure as to how to adapt to the student's needs. This is because of the teachers thinking that the child does have an intellectual disability, yet they do not. However, they cannot express themselves properly due to spina bifida, the illness they have, and the language difficulties that has arisen from this. Foreman believed that intellectual and physical disabilities need to be treated differently by those bodies who have the ability to alter the curriculum. Yet, Westwood believes both are correlated and need to be treated the same. Another misconception is the belief that students with this condition can be can be perceived as an undesirable burden on the education system, as they may appear disengaged and reluctant to participate in social activities. As touched on in the introduction, that people believe those with spina bifida are lazy. This belief is both taken out of context and false. Students with spina bifida do not automatically become lazy following their diagnosis. Furthermore, for those who seem to be reluctant to work in a school environment, the school is responsible for this. The school is in this type of situation and would not have adapted to accommodate the student with a physical disability sticking to their mainstream structure. This would be disencouraging for the student and, as mentioned before, feel as though they are an outsider to the school community. Solutions. Westwood argued that students with disabilities who attend mainstream schools with the support of teachers' aides tend to be more productive if they without their assistant. Schools have begun to make schooling accessible for students with both intellectual and/or physical disabilities, whether it is extreme or mild cases. This video I'm about to show you is of a teacher in the United States who has adapted a classroom to suit the needs of a student with spina bifida.
I have a student with spina bifida this year, and some of the accommodations that I've made so that this is easy access and handicap friendly. She wants to be with her friends, so this is her table, and we raised the table 2 inches to comply with her wheelchair. And so she is seated at a table with her friends. So she actually has her chair pocket off to the side in a smaller chair. And then we wanted to make sure that she had the width so that she could come over to our first area of learning, our ELA reading area. And I have charts on wheels so that I can move things when she's coming up to lead the class and show, that I'll move the charts over so that, you know, easy and quickly she can come right up, and she's the one. I use the daily 5, and so she'll come over to centers, and we just have verbally talked about this, so students will move the.
This is due to schools seeking assistance for students who are in need of support to guide them through mainstream classrooms and classes. As just shown, schools have begun adapting by seeking physical support from a helper, whilst also adapting the curriculum to allow those students to complete work and grow at their own personal pace. So in that video, the lady adapted her classroom and the way activities were run in the class to help the students get through their daily needs. This includes a range of disabilities from minor intellectual or physical disabilities to students with severe or multifaceted disabilities with different alterations made to the course to tailor students' needs. Barbara Risman, in her study, listed solutions that would help those students, the school and the parents involved to get the students through the school year. Her first solution was at the start of each year, parents and the school principal could discuss the merit of hanging a large picture of the student in the staff room lunch, where the student's medical conditions are noted and the action plan to be followed in the event of an accident or potential shunt problem. This would ensure all staff shares the same information about the student. Secondly, prior to high school transition, parents could meet with relevant teachers, aides, counsellors, special needs and learning support teachers to discuss problems in the non-verbal areas of functioning and potential difficulties the student may have with following a complex timetable, getting lost in new surroundings, disorganisation, forgetfulness and social incompetence. At the start of each year, parents and teachers should discuss an approach towards wheelchair assistance that promotes friendship. An emphasis on independence has got her now nowhere, only loneliness and heartache, said one parent for another student. a lot of issues stated in primary school because it was so physically tiring for the child to access where peers sat or played. Parents could stress the need for any teacher or student to first ask the student's permission before pushing the wheelchair. Finally, it is evident that research shown that students with physical and intellectual disabilities, including spina bifida, must be nurtured to allow these students to thrive in mainstream primary school classrooms. Alterations, both physically and intellectually, would have to be made by the school to accommodate the child in need to help ease the struggles of their life. For example, modifying physical surroundings to make more wheelchair accessible places would help the student greatly in navigating around the school. In attempting to achieve the best outcome and results for the student with spina bifida, all members of a school should be afforded the education and knowledge on how to progressively include all students into the curriculum, thus allowing the affected child or children the opportunity to contribute and succeed in the classroom setting. With the use of a complex team, adapted environments and personalised teaching techniques, each teacher would have the capacity to teach children with disabilities. Individually assessing the student and their own personal needs will remove the focus from a snap judgment on physical disabilities to a more appropriate assessment of all required factors. Thank you and have a good day. And here are my references.